Access to affordable and sustainable water, sanitation and hygiene is still a big challenge to many communities. This has negative impacts on the livelihood, well-being and health of many people across the world. According to a joint program by UNICEF and WHO, it has been established that more than 844 million people do not have access to basic drinking water. A further 2.3 billion people lack access to basic sanitation and hygiene services. In line with UN's SDG 6, which aims at ensuring availability of water and sanitation for all, Humanitarianglobal.com has collaborated with world's best WASH experts to prepare an introductory course in WASH to empower more people in steering this goal. Undertaking a certificate in WASH program gives you an in-depth knowledge and understanding of Introduction to WASH. In the first module, the learner will get to understand the fundamental principles and approaches in WASH, global availability of fresh water, right to water and sanitation and the post-2015 WASH development agenda. Secondly, sanitation and hygiene. This module allows you to learn about sustainable sanitation, sanitation in schools, hygiene improvement and disease transmission routes. And thirdly, cross-cutting issues in WASH. In this last module, the learner will get to study some of the cross-cutting issues in WASH such as participation, gender, environment and inclusion of the most vulnerable community members. To register, please visit our website www.humanitarianglobal.com for more details.
Happy that you were able to join us this morning for our WASH webinar. And with me, I have two people I would like to introduce. And I will start with Anthony. Anthony, you may unmute your microphone and just give us a brief introduction, who you are, what you do, and why we are here today.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Eric, and to all of our participants for joining our session today. So my name is Anthony Mkuhi, the Academic Registrar at Humanitarian Global. Very much excited to be hosting this session alongside my colleagues, that is Eric, and also our key facilitator for the day, Moses. In this session, I would just like to give you a short brief on who we are as Humanitarian Global Institute. And then after that, we're going to go directly into the agenda for the day. So just to help me do that, I would like to share my screen. And just in a few, I'm trying to project that. So Eric, confirm whether you can see my screen.
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay, great. So Humanitarian Global, and I know most of us, we have interacted maybe in these kind of webinar sessions or even in other forums. So we are an institution that is based in Nairobi, Kenya, that is in East Africa. Our main focus has been to work with both humanitarian and development professionals like you when it comes to capacity building. So our main agenda is to make sure that we can steer the world towards the attainment of the SDGs, and this we talk of the Sustainable Development Goals, and we want to ensure that through capacity building and training, we can also contribute and propel the world towards the attainment of these goals. So on what we do, I would like just to give you the broader categories and also specific areas on how we contribute to towards the attainment of these goals. And one of these areas that we focus on, and this is our core area of focus, has always been training and learning. So under the category of training and learning, we do ensure that we have online courses and training programs. And that's why even for the webinar of today, if you'd like to further train with us and also be certified in that field of water sanitation and hygiene, or even other fields, you can always follow up with our team. And we are going to guide you further in that process. Also, we do host webinars, and these are free events that we aim at reaching out to more professionals like the one that we are having today, so that we can train you and also educate you when it comes to matters to do with a chosen area of focus. Like today, we are focusing on water sanitation and hygiene. We also do organize workshops and working with organizations, especially to come up with bespoke training programs for their staff. And this is to ensure that we promote capacity building within organizations. So you might be here connecting as one of the key managerial staff in the organization. You might be interested in knowing how we can work with you in building the capacity of your team. So through our able team and also through the infrastructure that we use, we do support both the on-site and offline and online mode of training when it comes to capacity building. So you can always reach out to us, and we are going to guide you further. We also do ensure that we can promote capacity development and also team building activities, especially for organizations or even groups of individuals. Also, because we work with a global pool of experts when it comes to these areas that we do offer training in, that means we can also work with you in the capacity of a consultancy. So in case you want to seek professional advice, there's a program that you're working on as an organization, as an individual, and you want to get assistance, you can always reach out to us, and we are going to avail our team to work with you in that capacity. So also, we do have, through our platforms, we champion and promote humanitarian work. And that's why we've been able to even work on a forum, which also does support sharing of humanitarian resources. So previously, we've been mentioning that if you go to our homepage on our website, you're going to find that there's a new tab on humanitarian global community, that is a HG community. And we urge you to be part of this forum because this is the forum that is going to help you connect with other professionals from different parts of the globe. So we really believe in information sharing. You might be there in West Africa, you might be here in East Africa, but there's a lot that we can share and learn from each other. So I know these sessions, they're quite strained in terms of the time. So we might never be able to have enough time at any given session to complete everything to totality. So that means through our forums, you can always reach out, be part of the forum, make sure that you can sign up. So once you click on that link from the website, you're going to be redirected to this kind of a page. Ensure that you can sign up. So it's very easy for you to sign up. Just use your email address, choose a username, your full name, and then a password, create your account. Once you have done that, you're going to log in, and then you can contribute. So you can see we've been having very interactive discussions with very many participants. Like yesterday, we did publish a topic on sanitation approaches, and then we got feedback from even some of us might be in this meeting. So here we get to learn from each other. We want you to share what you understand from these topic areas, and we believe that together, through supporting each other, we're going to get better. So we urge you sign up even as we go on with the webinar. Make sure that the link that we'll keep on sharing on the chat section, you can follow that link and be part of this forum of humanitarians, which is aiming at connecting humanitarians from different parts of the world. And before I wind up, I would like also to mention, apart from WASH, we do also cover other areas when it comes to training and learning, and also consultancy, what we discuss. And these fields include monitoring, evaluation, accountability, and learning, that is MIL, water sanitation and hygiene, as I mentioned. We also do cover disaster risk reduction and management, food security and nutrition in emergencies, procurement and supply chain management, human nutrition and dietetics, and also maternal, infant, and young child nutrition. Some of the upcoming areas are very soon. They're going to be public health, project planning and management, gender-based violence, data analysis, child protection, climate change, and also humanitarian principles and essentials. So those are some of the many areas that we do tackle when it comes to the core areas that we focus on. So with that said, I would like to finalize by saying that this is just an overview of what we offer to you. We've been able to train very many participants. I'm happy even to see on the participants list that we have some of our ongoing participants, and they're quite enjoying the sessions, the way we do offer the training. And we urge you, as we continue to discuss today about sanitation approaches, make a point to also pursue further training with us, because we are going to make sure that through the enrollment, you're going to undergo further training with our team and also work together with you even after you graduate, because we do have an alumni program to ensure that we can keep you posted on some of the opportunities upcoming in your field. So with that said, I would like to welcome Eric back again, so that he can be able to welcome the main facilitator of the day. And just a quick notification is that we already have your details. So on the chat sections, let's try to refrain from sharing our personal details. Let's use the chat section to communicate, to give us feedback, to place your comments there. However, for questions, direct them to the Q&A section. So let's try to avoid sharing our personal details, and personal details mean your email address, your phone number, unless you're sending to the host and the panelists, that is allowed in case you have an inquiry. But sharing with other participants, it does put your data out there, and we need to protect our data. So thank you so much, and back to you, Eric.
Thank you, Anthony, for that introduction. And with us, we have Moses Lengewa, who is our key facilitator for the day. Moses, are you there with us?
Yes, Eric.
Maybe you can start by giving a small introduction about yourself, then we can proceed with today's session.
Okay, thank you so much, Anthony and Eric. Most welcome to our participants. My name is Moses Lengewa. I'm a public health specialist, and I'm also specialized in the areas of water, sanitation, and hygiene. I'm also practicing in, of course, development sector. And of course, I'm here actually to share with you some of the approaches which I thought they are very key, especially in, of course, improving sanitation and hygiene. And looking forward also to sustainable development goals. So I welcome all of you to this training. I know the time we have may not be enough, so this is just kind of like an overview of the approaches. But of course, as Anthony and Eric has been guiding, is that of course the institute is offering trainings on this. So most of the nitty-gritties and details you get, of course, when you of course register for these trainings. And of course, as a person, I'm sure the reason why you are joining this, of course, webinar is because you have interest, or you are maybe implementing, and of course you need to advance and of course get better approaches, and more so sharing lessons learned and experiences. And that's why we have the Humanitarian Global Community Forum, where of course experts, implementing partners, government, of course officers discuss about these things. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that introduction, Moses. And I think at this juncture, you can share your screen, and then we can begin today's session.
Okay. Please let me know when you see my screen.
Yes, we can see your screen. Just have it as full screen, or maybe the slideshow.
All right. Okay, thank you so much. So we quickly delve into these approaches, and just to take you through the agenda, is actually we have to we kind of introduce sanitation, of course, what's all about, and then why it's important, and of course the way it's being monitored globally, and that's through the joint monitoring plan for WHO and UNICEF, which is normally customized again at the country levels. And of course, then we have to look at the approaches, which is the main agenda for this webinar. So, so by introduction, simply we just want to say this is just by definition of sanitation, and this is adopted from Collins English Dictionary. Of course, sanitation is the development and application of sanitary measures for the sake of cleanliness and protecting health. So simply is an approach, or is an area where, of course, you have to apply these sanitary measures simply, and the agenda is actually to protect human health, and more so on the second part through the disposal of solid waste and liquid waste, which includes, of course, majorly here is a human excreta and urine, and of course maybe other wastewater. So narrowing down, I can begin to also try to define environmental sanitation, which entails interventions that reduce people's exposure to disease by providing a clean environment. So we are attempting to kind of providing a very clean environment where people live, and actually to break the cycle of disease. And actually, this includes hygienic management of human and animal excreta, solid waste management, and wastewater, stormwater, and of course, again, going into the details of washing facilities for personal and domestic hygiene. And then it also involves about the behaviors. Majorly what we will be talking about here is the behaviors and the facilities that work together to form a hygienic environment where we attempt to break the cycle of disease transmission. So that's actually the main agenda for sanitation. So just an overview of what happens, what I was just describing there is we have this normally the systems. So if you look at this diagram, you can see, of course, there's the containment of course, the human excreta, and of course, this is through maybe a latrine, which now we're going to see how they're advancing the way it's being improved from basic, from open defecation along the sanitation ladder. And looking at it, the whole sanitation value chain has a lot to tell us, because this is how we are going to manage sanitation. We know it's at different stages, depending on where you are, the country, and of course, again, if it's urban, rural. So, but our agenda is actually to now at what we call the safely managed sanitation, whereby even some data tells us around 1.8 billion people globally use sources of drinking water that are physically contaminated. So that means there's an issue in sanitation. You see, we are talking about water. There's a lot of relationship between sanitation, water, and hygiene. So if there's poor sanitation, there's likelihood of contaminated water. And you can see the figure there is around 1.8 billion people are at actual risk of diseases that are, of course, related to water, sanitation, and hygiene. Some 2.4 billion people lack access to basic sanitation services, such as toilets or latrines. That's a huge number. So that's why we have this. That's why we are trying to find solutions to all these issues. And more than 80% of wastewater resulting from human activities is discharged into rivers or sea without any treatment, leading to pollution. So again, the humanitarian sector, development sector, of course, and the governments, this is why we have put efforts to ensure that we reduce this, and this water could be able to be recycled and brought back to use. And again, just to continue on that, on why it matters again, wash-related diseases remain among the major causes of death. So we know wash-related diseases can be prevented and can be avoided actually by simply observing good sanitation and hygiene practices, but they're still topping the list of diseases that cause death, morbidity, and or even disabilities. So proper water and sanitation is a key foundation for achieving UN sustainable development goals, including good health and gender equality. So another main issue and why sanitation is important is because it's part of the SDGs, and you can see here it's a key foundation. So which means it's an more so it contributes a lot to achieving even the 17 sustainable development goals. And if you go into the linkages of that, you'll be able to see how they are linked to water, sanitation, and hygiene. So by managing our water sustainably, we are also able to better manage our production of food and energy and contribute to decent work and economic growth. And additionally, we can preserve our ecosystems, their biodiversity, and take action on climate change. So all these approaches we're trying to target, the efforts we are putting, we are mitigating about to preserve water and of course take action on climate change. They all are interrelated. So that's why sanitation contributes to all this. Again, we have some key diseases or you can say disorders, like this one called environmental enteropathy, which is still a gut disorder, which is prevalent among inhabitants of low-income countries. So if there is poor sanitation and hygiene, then it means this disorder persists and it causes a lot of harm because it impairs actually immunization and also nutrition aspect of it. So why? Because we know over time we'll have poor outcomes, nutritional outcomes, and also the absorption of course immunization, of course in the gut. So again, I want to take you through what I was talking about. I'm just trying to introduce sanitation. So now we have the, of course, joint monitoring plan for sanitation. This is for WHO and UNICEF. This is what is being used to track sanitation across countries. And we have 5, of course, ladders. We have open defecation, we have an improved, limited, basic, and safely managed. So you can climb the sanitation ladder and distance from open defecation. So as we go along, I will describe more on open defecation. So it simply means human feces in the fields, in the forests, bushes, open bodies of water, okay, just in the open. And also maybe you can find it in having access to water sources. So that's what we call open defecation. And if you climb a bit the ladder, you are improving now, maybe you are attempting to avoid open defecation by communities heading to behavior change approaches. We have the use of pit latrines now, but in this case, the latrines may not be having slabs or platforms. There could be some hanging latrines or bucket latrines, which means again the fecal matter is exposed in the air. It can be, it can find itself access to water sources and any other way that it could come back and of course cause harm through disease transmission. So that's an improved kind of sanitation. And then we have limited, which simply now is an improvement of the other one, is use of improved facilities, but now they are shared between 2 or more households. So that means there are more people sharing the latrine, because meaning that again, the hygiene aspect of that and also sustainability will be an issue there. And we have basic. What we are targeting now is between basic and safely managed, actually by the sustainable development goals. We want to, if we want to say we'll be at a better place in sanitation, then we'll be either in basic or more better in safely managed sanitation. So basic simply means improved facilities which are not shared with other households, but it has all other, it's not shared. And then safely managed means now is the use of improved facilities that are not shared with other households, and where excreta are safely disposed of in situ or removed and treated offsite. So in this case, safely managed sanitation means the household as a sanitation facility, which actually has all the components in a way that human excreta and of course will not able to find a way into, again, into the human dwelling where it can cause harm. So the global situation currently, as at in 2020 alone, the joint monitoring plan estimates that more than 5% of the population still practice open defecation. So in 55 countries. So 5% of the people in 55 countries are still defecating in the open. So that's a huge risk again. And then of 90% of the people practicing open defecation most so live in Central and Southern Asia. And respectively, you can see and Sub-Saharan Africa, you can see 233 million people and 197 million people. To continue again, in 2020, 54% of the global population, that's 4.2 billion people, used actively managed sanitation. And over 1.7 billion people still do not have basic services, such as private toilets or latrines. And of these, 494 million people still defecate in the open, for example, in the streets, behind bushes, or into open bodies of water. So in as much as there is progress, but there is still a huge proportion of the people who are not yet into the ladders of sanitation where we can be able to say we are safe. And in 2020 again, 45% of the household wastewater generated globally was discharged without safe treatment. That's huge still, which means we still have a long way to go. At least 10% of the world's population is without, is taught to consume food irrigated by wastewater. And poor sanitation reduces human well-being, social and economic development to impacts. Of course, we know now poor sanitation brings all these aspects into play, which are challenges. We have things like risk of sexual assault. We have loss of opportunities for education and work, and especially for girls and women. These are the people who suffer the most, especially if these facilities are lacking. Poor sanitation is linked to transmission of diarrheal diseases, such as cholera and dysentery. And in situations where this persists, then it means a lot is lost. A lot is lost in terms of trying to manage these resources, life, okay. And also it exacerbates stunting and contributes to the spread of antimicrobial resistance. So in situations where people become sick, you can find a lot of use of antibiotics because of the prevalence of the diarrheal or other diseases of the gut. And then that could also bring another issue on antimicrobial resistance, which is an issue we are also trying to avoid through sanitation and hygiene approaches. So we have key approaches in this regard, and the approaches are majorly, I'm going to talk about here is more so on rural sanitation, or there are several, of course, approaches to improving sanitation, but what I'll be taking you through today is actually just an overview of approaches that are majorly used in rural sanitation aspects, and not all of them, maybe because we will not have time to discuss. But as we said, again, these are dealt with in, of course, in the trainings we are offering. So we can categorize this into two, I can say two thematic areas. There are three there. And the first one is actually looking at behavior change for improving sanitation through community participatory methodologies. I know there are an array of them, but there are key ones we may be able to talk about here. But they have been linking to each other, improvement of from one approach to the next. So no one is, one approach is superior, but it depends on the time it was, of course, developed and improved over time. That's why we have different approaches. And then we have developing or strengthening the market and supply chain for sanitation technologies, and providing financing mechanisms to improve sanitation supply and demand. So the point 2 and 3 will also speak into the market aspect for sanitation products. Maybe how are you going to get them? And of course, how are they financed? How are they be able to be bought, to be sold for sustainability of the market to continually improve sanitation through the use of such improved products. So I can mention, first of all, I can begin with one approach, which is mostly currently being utilized across board, and of course in different countries being used. And I know different countries have different ways of trying to tackle community-led total sanitation. So this is simply an integrated approach to achieving and sustaining open defecation-free communities. So CLTS is simply a behavior change approach. So, and it entails the facilitation of communities' analysis of their sanitation profiles. So their practice of defecation and the consequences leading to collective action. So I highlighted the term collective action to become open defecation free, because in this sense, it simply means it is a community's kind of initiative to do something and end open defecation. So it focuses on igniting a change in sanitation behavior through community participation rather than constructing toilets. So what does it mean? It simply means we're looking at the communities to, of course, analyze the situation, identify that this is what's happening, it's a bad thing, and what next can I do? I'm going to construct a toilet. So instead of supporting communities to directly construct toilets, you shift their mind actually to think about toilets and the ways they're going to get to construct them. Okay, so it concentrates on the whole community rather than on individual behaviors and the collective benefit. You can see again, collective is coming repeated again. Benefit from stopping open defecation. So people decide together through a process, which I'm going to take you through, that they will create a clean and hygienic environment that benefits everyone. So it came from approaches which long time ago, some of, not long time ago, but because there are still approaches like that tend to teach communities on what to do. And they have proven not to be sustainable because mostly it's not their initiative. So it's like this one is taken in a way that it's communities' own initiative, and the outsiders only kind of facilitate or just get the process and allow the community to continue on their own. So key terms, we have key terms when we talk of this community-led total sanitation, and this is why the facilitator ignites the moment. Of course, again, now to spur behavior change. So we have this triggering. Triggering refers to the journey of self-realization, where a community identifies feces in the open environment, and through a facilitated understanding that they are unknowingly ingesting feces, takes action to end open defecation and improve their sanitation and hygiene. So what this means is you make the facilitator doing this, a trained facilitator in that regard, will actually guide the communities to realize, what are you doing? You're just eating your own, you're eating your own feces, or the feces of your neighbors, the feces of your of anybody closer to you. And if you don't have a toilet, so if they know this, they realize now this is something, of course, it's disgusting, you know that, and there's a lot of shame in that, and it's shocking that the realization is shocking, and that's why they take action. Because if that's the case, then I'm going to we are going to get to make sure we are not going to have feces in the open. And the only way you avoid feces in the open is actually through constructing latrines that are compliant, again, to ensure that feces are not in the open or even accessed by flies or water or anything that will bring back to where human beings live. So triggering is specified as both the meeting. So this triggering is simply a meeting. And again, is a meeting where the community will gather after being mobilized, and of course, being told that on such and such a date we are going to have a meeting, and then the facilitator will now take through a process for them to realize they're eating their own feces if they don't have latrines, or if they're not practicing good hygiene practices. So it's simply provoking disgust and shock. That's the beginning of it. And open defecation free means no feces are openly exposed to the air. Simply that. And the only way you can avoid this is to make sure that you have a latrine. It has a lid. Of course, there are again indicators for open defecation free environments or community or a village. And it varies from country to country, but they actually borrow the same concept. So a direct pit latrine with no lid is also a form of open defecation, because the flies can still be able to access the feces through the hole. And this is called fixed point open defecation. But with a fly-proof lid, with or without the use of arch to cover the feces after defecation, it qualifies as an ODF latrine. So if you have a latrine now that has a lid on the hole, so that one qualifies as an ODF latrine, because the fecal matter is not exposed in the open, and neither can it be accessed by flies. Defecating into a trench and covering the feces can be part of the transition from OD to ODF. So this speaks to behavior change, because now somebody has realized I have to cover my own shit after defecating in the open, but now they don't have a toilet. So this looks into a transition to ODF. So this is a journey. The community maybe have begun to embrace community-led total sanitation. So, and then we have other terms like the natural leaders. These are the, we can say, the people in the community who come out during triggering sessions. After realizing that, after the facilitator taking them through the process of triggering, which I also mentioned again, then they will realize that they are going to come and lead the process. So these are the people we call natural leaders, and they drive their communities to end open defecation in the whole village. So, and this could be men, women, youth, and children. All this can be natural leaders. So it's not a specific person that you can say it's only men or women or girls or somebody prominent, anybody who comes out to champion the process, because maybe now you want, the person wants to be part of the movement to end open defecation. And then community consultants are now the same people, the natural leaders, who carry their passion. Now, these are the people who come and become now passionate in this process, that they can even go beyond the borders to the neighboring villages, and they become people who can be consulted every time in regards to issues to do with community-led sanitation. This may be done either on their own or in coordination with local implementing agencies. So this group can also be supported by the implementing partners, because this journey, there must be implementing partners, government institutions doing this. So they actually guiding the whole process for communities to make their own choices. And then we have community engineers. These are innovative community members. In every community, you have somebody who's normally innovative, is trying to do things, construct toilets, if they're doing other things. Now, in this regard, these are people who come up and they use available and affordable materials to invent local sanitation and hygiene technologies. This is ranging from latrine designs to unwashing facilities. Community engineers are usually skilled in construction and using tools, often helping out their neighbors and those that are less able. So if you combine all these groups, then you can see something is already happening, actively happening, that the community wants to end open defecation. And from time we move towards open defecation free environment. So these are simply the steps, and this is adopted from the Ministry of Health in Kenya. There are so many improvements along the way in this, but again, it was guided by community-led total sanitation guidelines by the founders of CLTS and the likes of Carl. So we can begin by saying this is just a pre-triggering. So for pre-triggering, simply means you are planning the process. You are planning to go and trigger. So you have to know from pre-triggering stage, you have to know which indicators can be monitored. And again, you have to carry a baseline. You have to know which communities, how many people are there, how many households, yeah, so that you have some data as you go to trigger. So as you mobilize the community, you have to make sure that the mobilization has been done effectively to get everybody on board that session. Because you can you see the yellow star here. This is where everything happens. This is where the journey begins. And if you're not going to do triggering correctly, then the whole process from ODF claiming, verification, certification, and the follow-ups to that process become a bit challenging or slows down. But if you do a quality triggering, then the process moves faster. So, and this depends on the facilitators. And who is responsible for all this? So after triggering, there is something called, of course, after that, there are follow-ups up to, depending on which country you are, up to 8, 6, some up to even up to 12. And depending on how innovative you are to achieve ODF, then it will take time to achieve ODF if you did not do triggering correctly. So after triggering, then there is after following up all those processes, now the community will come and say we are ODF. Yeah. So this is again after the community claiming ODF, then a team will come to verify if it is actually ODF. And this team is actually a team of the area officers, public health officers who are working in the area. And after that, they will qualify the community if it is ODF or not after verification, but now invites another entity to certify the community if it is ODF. And this is a third party. This is a party which is, I'm going to describe a little bit on that. And then after certification is now the community having, of course, qualified and complied with all the indicators for open defecation free environments. Then it's declared ODF. Now it's ODF, and now we look forward to what we call post-ODF activities or even monitoring. And if you look at the yellow star again, in this area, there is linking to SANMARC and of course ODM status, meaning now you have to bring in other financial mechanisms to make sure that the latrines that were built are improved. Okay, they keep on being improved along the ladder, the sanitation ladders we talked about, to better latrines. So, but still at triggering stage, you can still link them here along the way while implementing NGOs and governments and of course other partners. We make sure again at triggering their community, their members will come and say, I need this kind of latrine and not this one. And so they should also be given options from at the triggering stage along, so that they can we cannot wait until ODF to happen. Thank you. So these are actually again the protocols. This is a pre-triggering, what I was talking about. So first of all, you have to do what we call community entry. That's mobilization and setting triggering dates. Dates are very important because dates are where communities are told today, in the next 1 or 2 weeks, we are going to have a meeting at such and such a place and at that time. And of course, they are told to come out in numbers. And again, this will become very effective if the mobilization team does job correctly. So the following aspects need to be considered for an effective trigger. So who can do facilitation? Health, these are health promoters, of course, staff, health staff, including community health volunteers, or any other person who is qualified, who has been trained in these processes and has also implemented in a way such that he knows clearly what is the outcome and what is the desired outcome of that triggering. So that's why we say preferably individuals with community mobilization and communication and facilitation skills and have understanding of community dynamics should do this. This is actually open to depending on where you come from, but this part is very, very important because we have people who are trusted in community. So if they mobilize people to come out, then the community members will come out in large numbers. Yeah, so this now calls for the understanding of community dynamics. Okay, so the key elements for triggering, and I said earlier even, triggering is a very critical step of CLTS process, and it has tools that are used for triggering the behavior. And first of all is the rapport building. Rapport building is a very important tool, and this will open the community to speak. It will open the community to interact and to accept what's coming up, so that people will not be in not be tense. And so rapport building is very important. The facilitator will actually arrive at the venue, interact with the community members, introductions in a very light manner. So simply the normal rapport building to set pace for the triggering. And after that, after having built the rapport and being kind of like you're part and parcel of that community, then you have to slowly lead them to what we call social mapping, where you now tell the community members to draw maybe their households, the boundaries of their village, and mark the households using different colors and whatever. So it's like now they're just trying to draw their own village or map, including the households where there are rivers, where there are forests. And then from there, after that, they do what we call a transect walk. Just across along the village. If it is a village A, then do a transect walk. And the agenda for the transect walk again is to see if there is any shit in the open. If you get to a shit in the open or feces in the open, then it means you have to technically pick hygienically, and you come back to the venue. After coming back to the venue, you use it now to trigger the community to realize that they are eating their own shit because it has been found in the open. And after that, it's again another tool. We have what we call now shit calculation. So after going all through this, communities mapping their own households, villages, and knowing where their neighbors are. Of course, they know, but you're just trying to make things better for your understanding and also for them to interact. Now, for the sheet calculation, now you calculate the amount of sheet maybe a person deposit in a day, maybe to a latrine or to on the environment. And then you calculate by the number of people who are in that village. There are 300 people in that village, for example. It means, and each person is defecating twice or once in a day. Then you can do some calculation to see just to trigger and make them realize the volume of feces that could be in the open if actually they will not take action to build toilets. And then after that, then you take them through the F diagram. The F diagram is now why the hygiene aspect will come in to show them to link now feces to how they're going to be ingested. Yeah, how feces will access your food, your hands, whatever you touch, and of course, and how you're going to ingest through maybe when you are eating, and if you don't wash your hands, if you don't treat water. So that it links to what we call F diagram. F means there are flies, fluids, gas, fomites. Fomites are where you can touch handles of everything in the house. So these are transmission routes to disease transmission routes. And this is why now again, of course, this has been happening through health education along. This is why in some approaches before, people are just being taught about the F diagram. But now from this concept, you can see there's already social mapping, there's transsector, there's sheet calculation. And then now this is now the area where you are coming to relate how feces will access food through flies, fingers when you touch and you don't wash your hands. And of course, again, you calculate now, another tool is calculation of the medical expenses that are going to be, the medical expenses that are going to be incurred if somebody falls sick because of simply diarrheal disease by poor sanitation and hygiene. So you calculate the distances, or maybe the transport to take the person to the hospital. You calculate the amount expended on drugs when it's doing treatment, the time lost. So that's how you realize now the community will realize this is a big problem. And finally, there is participatory community action plan. After realizing all this, the community now will, depending on the facilitation, some will immediately act, all of them. Others will lag a bit, but now there must be some participatory action plan. What's ODF? That now the community will say, this is what we are going to do. And this is the plan for us to attain ODF. So this is where the natural leaders will come out. And from here, there are 5 members of the communities which are normally fronted by the community to come out to champion the process. They actually come out by themselves. Just raise their hands, me, I'll be part of that, I'll be part, and then they form a committee. And then after forming that committee, this is a committee that will be trained again further. And now these are the people who will be used to do follow-ups to ensure the communities attain open defecation-free status. And then they are also participating in the community monitoring through the facilitation of the implementing agencies, the government institutions. Yeah, so that's how the process goes in a nutshell. It's a process, and that's why now if it has to be taken through in details. Normally, the training for CLTs depending on where you come from and how you have, of course, internalized it. It should not be not more than 5 days. Yeah. So, and then we have, how do we know if that's triggering and facilitation is effective? So you look at the participation level of the community members. If the community is participating well, then you realize then this should be a very effective triggering session. And then the action plan developed will also indicate that. And then we can see communities after following up, you can see triggered ODF communities. Now communities are becoming ODF very fast at a very fast rate. Then it means that triggering session has been very effective, and whether the community is still demanding subsidies. If the community is demanding subsidies, then it calls for, it shows that the triggering session may not have been that effective, because at this level now, after triggering, then it means now the community will take their own actions and they will not even call for subsidies. They will say, this is what we are going to do. And of course, high level of participation of women and children. You see women participating, children, yeah, then it means again, no one is left behind. And we know women are custodians of most of these kind of initiatives, and high CLTS uptake in the prescribed period. So normally, depending on where you normally within 3 months, then the community should be open defecation free after triggering within 3 months or so, depends on where you come from and also the challenging environments you are, the kind of community you are in. So within 3 months is okay. After 4 months, 5 months, it happens, yes, yeah, but depending on where you come from. But of course, it's lessons you learn from that. And then the emergence of natural leaders and ambassadors, active ODF committee, and community solidarity to end open defecation. So that will tell you that triggering is a success. And these are the results. Normally, triggering results that you can quickly observe when and after triggering at the triggering session. So there's what we call a match in a gas station. So this means the whole community is motivated to take immediate action to end all open defecation, just like a gas in a petrol station, for example. Like a matchbox in a petrol station, it can actually spur the community to realize they need to change immediately and not even waiting. So that means that community is highly responsive. And then there are promising flames. So the community is in favor of the change after triggering, but a significant number remain indecisive. Some of them look like, okay, maybe I need more time, I need to consult, so on. So yeah, I need to wait. And so that's a promising flame. So that means this community can be followed up and it will, of course, attain ODF status. And then we have scattered sparks. Some community members are motivated, but the majority are not convinced. So these ones means the community is a bit not responsive, but there are some. But as long as there are people who are trying to do something, then of course something will happen. So you can follow up on the others, and they can spur change across the other communities. And then there's a damp matchbox. The whole community is not interested in ending open defecation. So if you find such a community, what you do, having done your triggering well, we are not saying this is this happens, these results happen because of poor facilitation. This is now about the community. Then the damp matchbox means the whole community is not interested. What you do here is you simply leave that and you take photos of the community. But now the neighboring communities maybe promising flames, others are matched in a gas station. They will be able to learn from the others. When they realize the other villages are already becoming open defecation free, now they will follow the others because they will see that they are left behind. So that's how you're going to go about that. And having now delivered the other villages around ODF, then you can maybe come back and now show them that the others are already ODF and why are they lagging behind. So those are the approaches that have been used before. So these are the key indicators for open defecation free. How do you say this is an open defecation free latrine? And this is depends on national standards set for ODF certification. So it may vary from country to country. So these are the places maybe we can share experiences. Most of these are adopted from Kenya. Kenya has this kind of indicators for an open defecation-free latrine, and of course the environment, of course the community, after having complied all this in the kind of latrines that they are constructing. So, of course, we say no exposed human excreta within the community. If you are a person who is certifying, this is another process again, then there are things you're going to look for. And the same indicators will be used by the community to assess themselves, by the person who is coming to verify the community, and by the third party that will come to certify the community. So they'll use the same indicators. So there are 3 levels. There's a assessment, and they are going to assess themselves that all of us have latrines. Either some are sharing, and there are no feces on the on exposed when you walk around. Remember the transect walk. There are no feces if you in the open in that community. So all households have access to a toilet, either shared or individual, which will not facilitate fecal oral transmission. And if you go around the latrines, they should be covered. If it's not covered, remember what we talked about. This becomes a fixed point, open defecation, because still flies can be able to access. But this is maybe something you can be able to address quickly because you can provide a squat hole. And then the floor should be free of feces and urine. Again, on the floor, that means the floor is clean. So there are no feces on the floor and urine. Again, it goes back to feces not exposed in the air or just in open environment where flies can be able to access. And then the superstructure that provides privacy. So if the superstructure doesn't provide privacy, then it means during the day, maybe the household members, the family members may not be using the latrine, or it means they may be using somewhere else, because maybe the bushes can provide a better privacy because they are far away from the households. So that means now the superstructure becomes very, very important as one of the indicators. And all households have a hand washing facility. So we say hygiene is a very key element, because hygiene breaks the transmission, just like the latrine, because if you don't wash your hand, then still maybe having access to your finger. How do you know that this is being used? Of course, you'll be able to know if the household owner is using a toilet in places where, in rural settings, you can be able to see a path leading to a latrine all the time. And if the hand washing facility is being utilized, of course, you can always be able to see water, the wastewater, the water that has been used to wash hands, simply again around the latrine or being channeled elsewhere. So, but these indicators depend on, of course, but these are along the joint monitoring plan indicators. They are customized by countries. So those are some of the indicators that are used for defining open defecation free. Now, these are post ODF indicators. So after the community becoming ODF, open defecation free, then now it means we don't normally stop from there. Of course, again, there are community institutions, other places like schools, health centers, public places. All these have wash facilities, and there's drinking water for hand washing. There are separate toilets for boys and girls. So this indicates that community is beyond open defecation free, but this is now means sustainability. So the community has embraced this. But now we are going to look further into the other facilities around the community facilities that are being utilized by community members in schools. And then there's a system of maintenance of WASH facilities in schools is in place with the involvement of relevant authorities, teachers, and children. So in this regard, there are of course systems to continue maintaining the facilities that are already, of course, in the communities, including even in homesteads. And then there's a safe storage or handling of drinking water at the point of use. And then there's, of course, the water treatment. There's a covered vessel with hand and not dipped while taking out water. So it means, again, the water safety is being complied with. So these are post-ODF indicators. This tells you that community has actually embraced sanitation completely. And this is what we call now post-ODF. Another indicator, which is another stage, is the community has developed a system at the community level to ensure that there is no open defecation in villages, and nothing is seen, no visible garbage, stagnant water, or debris around there. So the environment, the total sanitation environment of that community is clean. That means now the community has embraced environmental sanitation through CLTS. And then, of course, there are of course behaviors that are desired behaviors for sanitation and hygiene, which promote safe storage, handling of food, simply to get foods free from flies access, and of course personal hygiene. Then this means this community has gone beyond ODF, and we can see that there is a lot of improvement even from the way people live. So this is now another stage. I'm now talking about the process of the journey to ODF. Those are the indicators I was talking about to be complied with for you to become open defecation free, or for the community to become open defecation free. So I said again, I remember saying about community self-assessment. The community now will say, after all the follow-ups and following what the others to build latrines, facilitation from implementing partners, government agencies, natural leaders. This movement now becomes the community now have constructed toilets. There are no feces in the open. Now the community will come after some time and say, now we are ODF. Can you come and verify us? So that's what you call the claim. You are claiming that you are open defecation free. So that means it needs to be verified by another party, and this stage leads to verification. This will be undertaken through a peer review. So this is a peer review process to assess the self-claim by the community. So, and it's done by a verification team, designated verification team. Normally there is the area public health officer and the trained natural leaders, but depending again where you, because settings are not the same, then you can have other parties. So in this case, you can have a trained natural leader, other community leaders, and the NGO representatives working in the area, being part of that verification team. So the members from, of course, that the trained natural leaders and the NGOs will come outside that area, not where they work, not where they are, not the same village, simply to avoid any kind of conflict of interest, to declare the village or to say that the village is now due for certification. Okay. And then the next protocol is open defecation free. And this will be done by another party. This is normally a third party. Could be a trained certification team at the maybe subnational level, or even at the national level, some entity that is normally known for doing certification and has that track record of doing it objectively. So this team will come again with the same indicators now and certify or just go through, so in attempt to certify the verified village. So certification should be carried out within 2 months after verification, simply to allow the communities to to internalize or see if they are going back or not, because after verification, it means now you need to give some little time to for our verification team to on board. And this is the composition of the certification team, depending on, this can maybe change depending on where you come from, but these are the set standards. The certification team will be drawn from credible institutions or organizations, maybe NGOs, CBOs, FBOs, or from individuals and consultants who have demonstrated skills and expertise in CLTs. They will be identified through a shortlisting process. So this kind of a process, and this is coordinated by a relevant government ministry. The relevant government ministry here, I mean the ministry that is in charge of WASH in that country, and this will be at this team or a consultancy team should be a trained team on what we call a third-party certification. And the training will be conducted by an institution accredited again by the government ministry, or simply even the government. So the government ministry will compile the list of organizations and individuals accredited as certification teams and provide these to certification to implementing agencies. So there's a list of certification teams across, and maybe based on where you are in that country, if the person, the nearest or the one you can be able to contact depending on how you are going to implement the certification process. And of course, now they will be reached out by the implementing agencies to come and do certification after outsourcing their expertise. So now the certification team carries out their work, and they say now these villages, this community is ODF, or this region is ODF. Now afterwards, now there is another team that will come, normally from the national government level, and they will come and sample at least 10% of the villages which have been previously certified by the national level teams, which are now the certification teams. So here they will come and see if they have actually met the criteria. They still come with the same indicator, just for quality control. And this is what I was talking about, the post-ODF social mobilization. After ODF, we don't stop. So it has been mostly, normally the ideal is we don't stop from ODF, because you have to look beyond that. You can see community receive support even after certification of ODF to evade what we call slippage, going back to open defecation. So the government now can continue to ensure that household sharing toilets should be motivated to have their own toilets. So we now start climbing.
Hello, Moses.
Sorry. I've gotten a bit of interruption, but hope you're still following me.
Yes,
Okay,
so
what I was talking about is now we had sharing of some families or household sharing toilets. After now ODF, they will continue to be encouraged to have their own toilets. So those are the processes that will continue after open defecation free certification and celebrations. And yeah, so and then we have new families. Of course, communities are dynamic. We have new families coming on board. We have others who come in, and then they should conform to the ODF status of that community. Remember, we said this is a collective action by the community. So anybody who comes in simply have to plug in what is already there. So households are encouraged to upgrade their facility to JMP standards or the country standards. See, different countries have their own standards for sanitation facilities. Okay, some may be able to have, and we are talking about the indicators here for ODF. So the JMP standards again, of course, you remember what we were talking about, basic and safely managed sanitation. So that's what the journey attempts to complete that. So this may require hand-holding support, mobilization, and behavior change communication, and continued behavior change communication on the same. the community unit provide a platform for community interaction and promoting hygiene practices. So remember what we were talking about, that the communities should have their own even monitoring system through the committees that have come up and they have been trained. But this is a movement, so it doesn't stop with the people who have been trained. You bring all others on board as you go, other authorities, head of institutions, and all those people. So that is a lot, again, continue climbing the sanitation ladder. So the above mentioned objectives should be supported with the following activities. And one is ODF communities should develop a post-ODF sustainability plan as part of certification requirements. So before the community is certified, then they should have a post-ODF sustainability plan, at least just to address what next after open defecation, pre-certification. And normally there are other approaches that come up, like sanitation marketing. This is another area I will just mention along the way. This one is simply to ensure that the systems or the latrines or the toilets that have been constructed will continually being improved through a variety of sanitation products, and that can be sustained by a market, of course, through the sanitation marketing, and the forces of demand and supply will also have to play, and also the type of community, the affordability aspect, and also the profitability of the people who are investing in these sanitation products. So this comes, we normally say sanitation marketing comes after ODF. It is still key, but along the way you will find, even at the triggering stage, there are others who will say, me, I need a better toilet because I can afford that. So still they can be able to access this, of course, they be able to access this to know where they can be able to buy and at what price at that level, depending on how you are able to afford. So in a nutshell, that's just what I was talking about CLTS, but I gave an overview of the protocols, kind of what happens. There are a lot of other nitty-gritties that goes into the trainings, the tools I was mentioning about. Yeah, so again, experience has been, it's normally a good thing in most, of course, the implementing colleagues across the globe know that as you implement this or carry out interventions, it means even when you apply the CLTS protocols at some point, you'll find you'll get stuck somewhere just because maybe you're trying to follow as is, but you can adapt to the situation as long as you are being guided by the protocols of your country. And I know that these are standards because they are borrowed from CLTS handbook, the original one from Malhar. So the approach called follow-up Mandona. Still, we have so many other approaches again, depending on where you come, that are customized to improve CLTS depending on the setting. Now, this approach is from Madagascar, colleagues in an NGO in Madagascar, through the Global Sanitation Fund then of the Water Supply and Sanitation Collaborative Council. Follow-up Mandona is a Malagasy word, which means to push. And at the same time, it's an acronym which summarizes the core principles. Again, this approach uses the principles of CLTS. It's actually an approach that accelerates CLTS process for communities to achieve open defecation free. At some point, we find that along the process, you lag a lot, and maybe it's dictated that maybe after 3 months, then the village should be ODF after triggering. You'll find some will take more time to actually uptake and actually to become ODF. So this approach is more so to kind of accelerate, is an action-oriented kind of approach. So Mandona means motivates households. These are the principles. Analyze the sanitation situation again. Yes, and then you start. You set norms and standards for ODF at that level, and then decide to act now. So you act at that level. You act, meaning if you are going to a village and you are doing a follow-up using the follow-up Mandona, then it means it's still an approach that is a bit detailed. I'm just trying to summarize. Then it means you meet with the community just like in the same mobilization session. You discuss with them, you motivate them that they are doing well and they need to improve on this and this. And by them leading the process, you are only kind of facilitating, guide the process. And afterwards, now you tend to visit households and, by splitting into groups. So one of the maybe natural leaders would say, let us go to my household, and you'll be accompanied by 2 or 3 other household members, depending on your team. And on arriving at the household, they look at the toilets or the latrine. And of course, if there is any indicator that's missing, they will be able to identify. No facilitator is supposed to tell them what they're supposed to be doing at that stage, but they are just looking at the latrine and see if it complies. If there is anything missing, then they will say it themselves, and then they'll see if this a lead for the squat hole that's missing. The next thing, what are you going to do there? And then they will start maybe constructing that lead and fit it there, and then they move to the next household. So this is more so an action-oriented approach. So, and then organize actions and making sure no one is left behind. I think those are the principles we try to apply across board. And then, of course, advance to ODF status. And as I said earlier, this approach originated in Madagascar by Mirianso NGO. And of course, it has been replicated in Benin, Togo, Uganda, Nigeria, and also Kenya through various implementing partner. In Kenya, I know Amref Health Africa has done supplied this in Kenya in some regions. So I was talking about this. I was saying it's an action-oriented approach, accelerating community-wide sanitation and hygiene behavior change following the initial triggering session. Okay, so that's what I simply mentioned and it borrows heavily from CLJ's principles. The only thing is more so you do as you go. You kind of try to fix problems through the community members after having analyzed their own situation. So the key term here is what we call small, immediate, and doable actions. They are small, immediate, and doable actions, what we call SIDAs. So this means what are you able to do at that time? Are you able to provide, are you able to maybe come up with a lead for a latrine? Are you able to come for a customized or maybe an improvised and washing facility then? At that time, that's toilets with the community members. Yeah, and then you continue sparring change across as you do follow-ups. Okay, so why is it important? Now this just bring why it's important, and you can see is to rapidly achieve ODF status. So as I said earlier, it's simply to accelerate ODF status and to build on community initiatives, and of course to enhance sustainability, to reinforce the process. I mentioned about sanitation marketing, and I will not dwell into this now. I'll just mention about it. And also known as SANMAC, it combines social and commercial marketing approaches to scale up demand and supply for improve sanitation facilities. So what this attempts to do, sanitation marketing, is simply the private sector and the formal sector and the community, of course, and coming together and try to solve a problem that is within the community. And the solution we're attempting to get is a bit sustainable. And in this case, is about sanitation. How are we going to improve this sanitation sustainably? So if it is about the sanitation products, it's about the materials for constructing the superstructure, the materials for constructing the substructure, cement, iron sheets, squat hole covers, and all those, even hand washing facilities. Then how are the community members able to access this at a more profitable manner? And also the person investing should be able to, of course, to sustain his or her business based on what the community is taking from them, or taking from them in regards to sanitation products. So it's more so a business trying to solve a social problem. So, and it involves several players, of course, community members. There are, of course, again, the government agencies which are doing this, they are implementing partners. There are financial institutions which can provide loans for community to access these products. Okay, so it's a bit a process to sustain the market for sanitation products for longer term sustainability, and of course improving the basic structures that has been constructed during CLTS process. So that is in a nutshell what sanitation marketing entails. Okay, I said it is about the other approaches because I did not want to go into the details of this. I mentioned about the genesis of or the improvement of all this, and I know depending on when, where, and who is facilitating the process and in what context. So first is a participatory sanitation and hygiene transformation. And again, the most important thing is community participation here. And this is how it came up. That's even how CLTS came up, is because of the implementing partners. And we realized that they realized that communities need to take action on their own. They have to make their own, somebody outside them what to do. So that's about first. So it seeks to help communities to improve their hygiene behaviors, to prevent diarrheal diseases. And of course, all these approaches is simply to try to break the cycle of disease transmission through. Okay, yes, okay, I was disrupted. So to improve their hygiene behaviors, to prevent diarrheal disease, and I was saying all these approaches simply to break the transmission cycle of disease. And for any kind of waste that comes out, we tend to ensure that if there are other mechanisms to reuse that, then the better. So this approach uses what we call there is a relationship between sanitation and health status. So this it tries to enhance self-esteem. I think the main thing here is self-esteem of the participating community members by involving them into the planning process. So again, as I said, the community is taken through all those processes, and it has actually originated, and it borrows more so from another approach called SARAR, which stands for self-esteem, associative strengths, resourcefulness, action planning, and responsibility, which was developed earlier in 1970s and 80s by Lira and colleagues. So you see these approaches kept on coming and solve problems, and also leading to other approaches as we go that do a lot of input. So I'll not go through this process. This is just steps to community planning for the prevention of diarrheosis. So this is simply an example. So you're using a community here to identify their own problems, and then they analyze, and then they plan for solution, then they select options, planning for new facilities, and yeah, across board. But along that, then there are activities what you are supposed to do, and the tool you are going to utilize. So I know we're going to share this later, so you can be able to go through that for further understanding. So having said that, I think I'll stop from there, and I say thank you so much for listening, and looking at the participation, I think is commendable. It means colleagues across the globes coming together at least to learn from each other. And that's why there's the, in the website of the Institute here, we have the Global Humanitarian Community Forum, where you could be able to log in, share experiences. I can see already it's happening, and of course get insights from facilitators or also other colleagues, because we are all experts at our own levels. Okay, yeah, and also we are students. We are also learning as we go. Thank you so much, Eric. I think having said that, I think I can hand over to you, and if there is any question, I think you can continue asking in the chat box. You can continue also going to the forum in the website, yeah, as highlighted by Anthony here already early. Thank you so much.
According to United Nations, it has been established that 1 in 3 people do not have access to safe drinking water, 2 out of 5 people do not have a basic hand-washing facility with soap and water, and more than 673 million people still practice open defecation. These statistics are worrying, and the continued increase of unsafe hygiene practices are a health hazard to many people across the globe. Thus, effective and sustainable interventions are needed to reduce spread of such diseases, which will alleviate human suffering and ultimately save lives. When more people such as local emergency response workers develop a good understanding of water, sanitation and hygiene strategies, more lives will be saved. To help in these efforts, HumanitarianGlobal.com has worked with world's best WASH specialists to develop a comprehensive online diploma program in WASH that will help participants to acquire enhanced knowledge and expertise in water quality issues. In this module, you will get introduced to water quality issues and learn more about water safety plans, water treatment and water quality surveillance and testing. Secondly, sanitation. In the second module, get to learn about sanitation in schools and emergencies, sustainable sanitation and how sanitation links to health, nutrition, agriculture and food security. Thirdly, hygiene and disease transmission. In the third module, you will learn more about hygiene improvement, disease transmission routes and the F-diagram and hygiene perspectives at both household and community levels. And fourthly, hygiene types. In the last module, you will get to learn more about hygiene types such as personal, environmental, domestic and food hygiene types. Apply for this course today by visiting our website www.humanitarianglobal.com for more details.
Thank you, Moses, for that session. Thank you for guiding us through and just impacting knowledge on us. And at this point, I'd like to direct you to the Q&A. We have a few questions from our participants. I don't know if you can see them, Moses.
Okay.
The Q&A section.
Yes, I'm there now. I can see a few. Let me just see if I'll be able to answer them here.
Yes.
Or you can refer them, and maybe you can continue in the chat box after this, or in the forum. So I can see, all right. Can I continue, Eric, or you?
Yes, you can continue.
Okay, thank you. So Mayom is asking a question. Some people say sanitation refers to excreta disposal, vector control, solid waste disposal, and drainage. Oh, this is not a question. Yeah, perfect. I think it's just a kind of an addition. Yeah, true. Yeah, excreta disposal, of course, vector control. Because I talked about environmental sanitation, and it has also had to do something with vectors. You can remember again, these are especially around the households, for vectors that are waterborne, for vectors that are water related, like mosquitoes and others. Yeah, thank you for that. And we also talk Abdi Fattah Mohamud. We also talk clean water, and there are still people who cannot get dirty water to drink. How can this scenario match? Oh, okay. So this is lack of water. So it's asking about, we are talking of clean water, and in other places there's no water at all. Okay. So now this scenario is, you can say it's an emergency situation. If places where there are no water means now they need to be provided safe and clean water, or through water access approaches, maybe depending on the soil where you come from. Yeah, so this means water provision in that situation. Anonym, what are the activities that can lead to triggering? I mentioned that earlier. Activities that can lead to triggering. I gave. I think I can share the whole thing. Okay. Later, I may not go back again, because I remember describing about a mobilization, about pre-triggering, which means mobilization, triggering, all those processes, and the nitty-gritties about it, the tools. So I can actually say, you want to refer to the tools for triggering. Actually, those are the activities. And again, a triggering session in itself takes some time. It takes time. It takes resources when you're doing it practically. And yeah, what the question is asking is simply about the process, and of course the tools for triggering. The CLT Muhammad is asking, the CLSS and STLSS approach should be part of curriculum, as that society can understand the importance of both approaches as well. Yeah, depending on the context, depending on the on the country, then of course this can be infused depending on the need. Actually, that's what I mean. But through now the relevant government authorities, which can be plugged in through the technical working groups, and that can be discussed at that level. So Nelson is asking, thanks for, oh, sorry. I would like to know who is responsible to select the natural leader for the community. The natural leader is, we said, remember, CLTS is an approach, and at the triggering stage, this is where somebody will decide and say, me, I will not continue ingesting feces. If I can avoid it as simply as by constructing latrines, then I will do it. I will champion the process. So you see the I aspect is coming in. So the natural leader is somebody who comes out. So nobody's selecting them. Nobody's selecting them. They will come out, they raise their hands and say, me, I'll lead the process. And then the community members will say, yeah he is able to do that. Okay. So these are people who come out as champions, so they are not selected. There are people who are prominently there in the community, and they are ready to champion any process that benefits everybody. Okay. What is the minimum time frame expected for community to go ODF? I mentioned this, it should be within, depending on the protocols, again, for your country. For Kenya is within 3 months. Anything more than 3 months, okay, we are not for a village that or a community that's going ODF within 1 month, 3 months, 4 months after, yeah. So all those processes I was mentioning about protocols. So depending on protocols, that level, but okay. If that is important for the
Moses, are you there?
Yeah, I'm still there.
Yeah, I think due to time, you can randomly select 3 questions.
Okay.
So that because you also have another session where we allow them to talk live, so that we can also give that session a bit of time. So maybe 3 random questions, and then I will urge our participants to also send in the same questions to the forum as you had advised them. And this is due to time.
All right. I was also worried about. Thank you so much, Eric. So what I can do, maybe I can respond.
Moses, are you there with us?
Yeah, I'm there. We have.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So I was saying, I can continue on the chat box later.
Okay.
But for the colleagues who want to ask questions, they can go ahead.
Okay, I think we can move on to that session.
Yeah.
It's because of time.
Thank you.
Where we allow them to unmute their microphones and ask questions. And for you to do that, ladies and gentlemen, what you can do is simply raise your hand, and I will give you that opportunity to talk. And I can see a few hands up already. I can see we have an Abdi Mahad. Abdi Mahad, are you there with us? Abdi Mahad, are you there with us? Kindly unmute your microphone. Okay, as we wait for Abdi Mahad, I can see Babuka Kaur. Kaur, are you there with us?
Yes, I am here.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Yes, you may proceed to ask your question.
This would be not exactly a question, but a little suggestion to the presenter. Like, I think it would be very important in any other presentation that you do, you bring out clearly the effect of keeping urine or feces within somebody because of the lack of privacy can also be a health hazard to people. Because I heard you talk about the importance of privacy in toilets. If you back it up with the health effects, I think that will be very, very useful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Abubakar, for that. Yeah, I think that's quite in order.
Thank you, Kaur, for the comments and feedback. Thank you. You can see Clicks Mila Mbuel. Mila, are you there with us?
Yes, I am. Thank you so much, and thanks for the presentation. I wish to ask 2 smart questions. And the first one is, when we talk about water, sanitation, and hygiene, I would like to ask the presenter, in our environment, which one is more of a problem? Is it access to potable water, or is it proper waste disposal? From there, and then I'll ask the next question.
Hello, Moses.
Hey, yes, hey, hello. I think I'm a bit unstable. My internet is a bit unstable, but I think I heard what Kana said as asker, and he was asking about what's the problem? Is it access to safe water, or it's about disposal of waste?
Yes, that's the question. Which one is more critical?
Thank you. Actually, that's normal. That's a problem. That's why we want to go along the ladder. is simply about the access to safe water. Of course, again, sanitation and hygiene is simply, again, okay, so I can say sanitation about waste disposal, and even the human excreta is still waste disposal. And if, I don't know if you are at the beginning of the presentation, I was talking about the systems along the sanitation value chain. I think that will gear towards safe sanitation and hygiene. Lack is probably tough. Over to you, Eric.
Hello, Moses. Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Maybe you can just repeat the last part so that Khan may be able to understand.
Khan?
Yes, sir.
And you ask the question, problem, is it waste disposal? Waste disposal is it's actually an element of it that we have been making across board globally, even with the partner, simply to make sure that so separate waste and what we are talking here is about human also, and where people live, or where anybody can be able to ingest that, so that we break the disease transmission cycle. For waste, there is of course wastewater. There is of course urine. Yeah, safe disposal of all those, and of course general environmental sanitation is actually what we are looking for, including solid waste and liquid waste. Okay.
Okay, that's okay. Thank you. Even though some point at the beginning you were breaking. Now, my next concern is this: you dwell much on the waste disposal and excreta, and I just want to find out from you what is the motivation behind that? Because all along, I think you laid more emphasis on managing excreta, open defecation, access to latrine privacy. Is there any indicator which, had to motivate you to focus more on that, so that maybe just we should be aware, probably there are increasing numbers of open defecation, or there are research work that is showing that physics is being exposed, which is being a hazard to our environment?
Yeah, thank you so much. The focus today is on the rural sanitation approaches, and also we are talking about CLTS. The main approach we talked about is CLTS. So I don't know where I got the last part of your question. You are talking about the motivation to, okay, I get you. For the ODF, for the open defecation free, we know there have been improvements over time. And even now, globally, I think there's some data I presented earlier. Every year, globally, according to Joint Monitoring Plan, we are having that 7 million people across the globe who are actually dropping out of open defecation, at least to have a toilet. So you see, it's something in as much as it's a bit maybe, it's a process that is actually improving the status of sanitation and hygiene. So that's the motivation. On the other aspect about waste disposal and all that, I did not dwell more so in this webinar, but we know we have a course in that in this institute, and so we are dealing more into that, and maybe if time allows, or maybe another time, we'll be able to have another webinar only focusing on other aspects of sanitation value chain. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you for that.
Most welcome.
Miller. I can see my colleague. Oh, sorry, Henry Mugo.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you, Moses, for the wonderful presentation. I just want you to react to something I have to say regarding market-led sanitation. It seems now donors are moving from emphasis on CLTS to market-led sanitation. I don't know whether I'm right. I could be wrong, but that is what is the projects that are coming, the project designs that are coming up more so in Mozambique. The donors, most of these, the USAID, are actually now advocating for market-led sanitation approach.
Anthony?
And I don't know what you have to say about that.
Sorry. Hi, Henry.
Yes.
Thank you so much for the question. And I lost you at some point, but I think I got to your question or just insight. Yeah, true. If you look at all these approaches, the genesis of all these approaches we were talking about, especially the participatory approaches, we keep on improving from one another. The element of sanitation marketing, of course, I know it has been emerging approach. Perfect. Yes, so it's again coming to improve or sustain the gains made through CLTS. And actually, you are right, as you say, it's gaining momentum because of the element of sustainability. We want to sustain, of course, the gains made so far. We want to improve our facilities from actually the basic structures. Okay, so
yes.
that you are right, as you say that. So, but still, CLTS is again is a demand generation for the products that will be used again. So because it's a behavior change approach, so it actually kind of generates demands for the sanitation products, which now the sanitation marketing aspect will come in to solve, or rather to sustain. Okay, so the link, there are two link points. Yes. The link points is in the CLTS process, but sanitation marketing necessarily doesn't mean that it has to begin where CLTS has been. It's not the case, but better off if you can already get ODF communities or communities which are in the process of CLTS, because now they have that demand. Okay.
Yeah.
So there are 2 points in the process. At the triggering, I mentioned earlier, they can be able to introduce to the sanitation marketing element or the market-based sanitation approaches by simply, because we know the community members are not the same, even their socioeconomic status are not the same. So at triggering level now, the community members can ask, so where are we going to get the products for this? I want to construct a toilet. Another one will say, I'll use the local materials. Another one will say, I'll get a better toilet. Then they'll be able to be told, they are found here, there, and this is the supplier, this is the price, okay, at that level. And then again, at the ODF level, or at the level where now the community will be assessed, and now the market-based sanitation has to be improved, of course, improved in that community. It means they will be able to be linked to suppliers, to microfinance institutions where they buy these products. And of course, the people who are doing these enterprises will be able also to fit into the market depending on the situation. So it's a kind of a mixed thing. It's an approach that we all embrace in that regard, but they ride on each other as we ascend the sanitation ladder. Thank you so much, Henry, for that. And
Thank
hope
you,
I was
Moses.
able to answer you. Okay?
Very well, very well.
Thank you, Moses and Henry, for that. I can see we have Christiana.
Sir, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Moses, for this wonderful presentation. My question is on triggering. You said that, for example, now you are sent to a community to carry out water, sanitation, and hygiene activity. And then after triggering, you discover that you came back and discovered that the community was not motivated to end open defecation. So my question is, what other approach, like what can you do differently to get their motivation, to get them into participating? Like, can you like give them something? Should I say like let's say items or anything that can help them to participate in the activity?
Okay, thank you so much. I got your question very clearly. Yes, I also described a bit of that somewhere about the motivation of the community. And first of all, again, it depends on the setting. It depends on the type of the community and also the facilitation, the kind of facilitation that was carried out at the beginning. But yes, there are such kind of communities that whatever the facilitation, you still be able to, you will not still be able to get them motivated to carry out that, okay? So I know it's not all of them, but now you focus on the members of the community who are doing latrines, the ones who are actually taking up. And then from that, remember these community members interact, and they learn from each other. They realize now so and so has a better facility, and of course it's all about shame and disgust. If you don't have a latrine, it boils down to kind of shame. If people are coming to your homestead and you don't have a latrine, so it's a bit of a kind of a social issue that will push you to do so. So you continue with the ones who are doing the uptake, so that others will get motivated along the way. Don't struggle on the ones who are not doing it, because you'll waste time, you'll waste resources, and at the end of the day, you will not be able to have results that you'll be able to sell and say, this is what I have as a result of this. Because you go to community members around. If you're doing other villages, like you have village A, not motivated, B is motivated by the neighboring each other, then go with B. Take them through the process, and then until ODF, celebrate with them, bring the authorities, and then you invite them to that village. Of course, not you, but the members of the committee, the natural leaders will invite the others to come and just benchmark. Along that process, you'll be able to see that they'll be able to take up the process. Those are some of the ways you'll be able to motivate them.
Okay. So if community B get motivated and they accept to participate, so after, let's say after community A have seen what is happening in community B, now you can go back to community A.
Yeah.
Can you go back to community A?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Or you invite them to community B.
Okay, you invite them over to community B.
Yeah, those are neighbors. I'm sure they know each other, even their relatives at some point. And of course, yeah. And again, you look at the authorities at that level. Now you also look at the people, the decision makers in that community, the chiefs, the other administrators. You target now to involve them more so that they can kind of motivate the community, not to enforce at that level, at the rural community level, but simply to just.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Cristiano, for that, and Moses. And ladies and gentlemen, due to time, allow me to take the final participant. And for those who have not been given an opportunity to speak as of now, we still have the forum where we can have this and more discussions continuing. So I can see a Michael Lege.
Yes, Eric, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome, Michael. You may proceed.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Moses. And I'm happy to have an opportunity to be the last person. And I put a question up, but before I put that question, there is some communities, they see open defecation as a sign of whether the household is food secure or food insecure. That is in African context here. So Moses, could you help us maybe to see what kind of steps in triggering activity and the tool that can be used in this community mobilization? Or you think that the KAP knowledge, attitude, and practice survey could be done instead of abandoning the community? Thank you.
Yes, Michael.
Moses, are you there with us?
I'm not sure if I think I'm having some instability with the internet. I don't think I've had the part of the community. You're talking of the community insecurity or something?
Yeah. Okay. My question is, let me just go straight to the question.
Oh.
You said if the community doesn't respond for at least to maybe dig up some latrines, and you said you are wasting resources, you are wasting maybe time. Could you, instead of leaving the community, you conduct the community knowledge, attitude, and practices survey before you say the community is not, you have to abandon the community? Thank you.
Thank you for that, and already I like your idea that you don't need to. Of course, you're not leaving the community. Now, what will happen is actually you are not leaving the community, but you try other. You're not going beyond CLTS, but still you look at how you're able to marry other approaches within the CLTS depending on the community. And I mentioned that that when the other participant was asking this around the same question about the communities that are not motivated, then it means you can go around. Of course, there are other villages around. Other villages around that, or a community around that you can be able to trigger, and maybe they are successful. Another way, it depends on the setting, of that community. If you find it's a community that you may have a different, like pastoralists, you can have other. So there are other approaches you can be able to marry in within the CLTS based on that, just to see if something will come up. What I was talking about is that at some point you can spend so much time trying to trigger and deliver ODF villages, which are not coming through. But as long as there are others who are doing it, that's a plus. Then invest on those ones, motivate those ones to encourage others, because this is a process and it's a collective action by the community member. Again, you have to assess. I heard you talking about the knowledge, practice, and what KPIs, knowledge, attitudes, and practices assessment. So
yes.
When I heard that, maybe you can also look at the facilitation or the mobilization. Those are the other key areas that could have gone wrong or may not have gone well. And if you find that the community members maybe there are 200 households, just an example, and then you find a few community members on the triggering session, then it means that village is the triggering session may not have taken well. That's why mobilization is very key, because if you have all of them there, the collective action will now spur the change. So if you can assess the situation afterwards, but I know because you are, the person who is implementing knows what happened, and because you can still go back and trigger as many people as possible. If you want to re-trigger, then because you normally say triggering again may not be a good way, but if you are convinced that so many people have not been triggered, then you may try even to re-trigger or apply another approach, just like what I was talking. You can continue with the other who are doing better, so that you can others can follow. And again, this is an experiential process. Experiences are based on that question, because I know that's a norm in CLTS. So many, of course, such scenarios happen. Thank you so much, Michael.
Thank you, Moses. Thank you so much, Eric.
You're welcome, Michael and Moses. And at this point, I'd like to invite Anthony to give us a closing remark.
So thank you so much, Eric, and to also Moses for the wonderful presentation. As we always say sometimes, and also to our participants for attending the session, it's close to 2 hours and 30 minutes or maybe 15 minutes. We are grateful to have hosted this session. And as we always say, it's normally difficult to attend to all the questions within the given time frame. And that's why we urge you to join the humanitarian global community. And through this community, you're going to be in a position to interact with other professionals. And I believe, and based on the chats, we have a lot that we can share amongst ourselves. So we urge you to go and log in to the platform. So make sure that the links that we've been sharing with you, or even going to our website, you can click on the humanitarian global community and make sure that you can sign up. So once you sign up, this is where you're going to find this is the dashboard. And then you can make sure that you can locate maybe, for example, the WASH forum. And the good thing, you can even start by introducing yourself so that other participants can know who you are, maybe your organization and your country. When it comes to you viewing some of the latest topics, you can see like today we have a topic on sanitation approaches. So we do expect you to make sure that you can log in, you can click on that topic and then reply to that topic so that you can post your question. So if you have a question and we have been unable to answer the question, make sure that you can post it here. So type your question and then afterwards make sure that you can click on reply. So once you've done that, we're going to find your question and then and also our team members are going to respond to you. So I can see most of us here joining here and getting to interact with the topics and also the interactions that we have had. And we urge you to also share the link, invite other colleagues, your colleagues also, your friends, your networks, share with them the link to the forum so that they can also join. So you can see we have had very good interactions with some of the participants. Some of them, they might be in this session. And we look forward to getting more of your feedback. And that's how we get to learn from each other. So let's hear from you, maybe from Nigeria, West Africa, Southern Africa, Central Africa, Eastern Africa. We want to share knowledge and we want to learn from each other. So this is the perfect platform. And you're going to also make friends and broaden your professional network. And then also, as we always say, you can also engage us for further training. So this was just a snippet of what we offer when it comes really to this kind of training. So for example, in our postgraduate diploma in WASH, we do have a training on sanitation approaches. We go in depth and we look at the CLTS, we look at CHAST, we look at FAST. So you're going to, go through further training. So in case you're interested to further your training in this area, get a certificate, always feel free to reach out to us. So I would like to finalize by saying thank you once again. We're going to be sharing the slides in the recorded version within the course of tomorrow. And that is all from my side. And bye-bye for now. And we look forward to seeing you in our upcoming session. So thank you so much. And bye-bye for now.
In accordance with UN, it has been established that water scarcity affects more than 40% of the global population and is projected to rise. In addition, over 2.4 billion people lack access to basic sanitation services, such as toilets or latrines, and many communities are increasingly being exposed to a myriad of public health hazards and risks. Thus, WASH forms a key part of many humanitarian response programs. Humanitarianglobal.com has worked closely with experts in this field to develop a detailed online postgraduate diploma that offers extensive knowledge and information resources about this practice area. In the provided 8 modules, the learner will get to learn about water supply in emergencies. In this first module, the participant will get to learn more about intervention context, sphere standards, and consideration for linking relief, rehabilitation, and development. Secondly, pumping equipment. This module will cover the various pumping equipment used in WASH, such as hand pumps, centrifugal pumps, hydraulic ramp pump and the forms of energy sources that can be used in powering these pumps. Thirdly, sanitation hardware systems and concepts. The third module will cover basic concepts of sanitation, sanitation options, dislodging of pits and septic tanks and reuse-oriented sanitation technologies. In addition, you learn more about sanitation software systems and concepts. In this module, the learner will get to understand more about the sanitation ladder, sanitation-related behavior change, sanitation marketing and sanitation approaches such as CHAST, PHAST and CLTS. The other module is sanitation in different contexts. In the fifth module, you will get to learn about sanitation in different contexts such as schools and emergencies, sustainable sanitation and the linkage between sanitation, nutrition, agriculture and food security. In the next module, you learn more about hygiene and disease transmission. This module will cover hygiene promotion, disease transmission routes and the F-diagram and hygiene perspectives at both household and community levels. Also, you learn about hygiene behavior change. Under this module, some of the topics covered include principles and components of behavior change programs, risks, attitudes, norms, abilities and self-regulation, health belief model, communication for behavioral impact. And lastly, hygiene promotion management, epidemics management and global annual events. In the last module, the learner will get to develop more understanding about hand washing management, menstrual hygiene management, cholera epidemic and other epidemics management and global annual events. Apply for this course today by visiting our website www.humanitarianglobal.com for more details.